If food is getting in the way of how you want to look and the health you wish to live with right now, you simply cannot ignore the three things that I'm going to be covering in today's Kirk Miller Podcast episode. Having coached hundreds, if not thousands of people now the last 2 decades, or best part of the last two decades, one of the most common things, challenges and problems people have, irrelevant of background, irrelevant of career status, where they live, life circumstances, if someone doesn't look the way they want to, it's generally down to food. And a lot of people, when they first join us, ask the question, do we get a diet plan? How are we going to manage our food? Having the right diet is not the problem, especially if you are listening to this and you are late 30s, 40s, 50s, or maybe even younger, because I'm yet to coach anybody who can eat the same food every week, or more so every weekend across a calendar year. And as I've said in previous podcasts, a lot of people have a general rule of thumb, or a pretty standard knowledge, that they need to eat better quality food, manage their calories to look a certain way physically, to feel a certain way emotionally, and bulletproof their health and longevity long term. Why do they struggle so much? For me, the three things that get in the way of someone eating the foods they know they should be doing, or sticking more consistently to a plan, these three things are the things you need to get more control with, or more awareness of. Okay, they all begin with E. I tried to keep them as clear and concise as possible, and maybe because they all begin with E, you might remember them better. The first thing you need to get really, really clear with is your expectations. Your expectations about what is realistic in relation to your given week's schedule, personally, professionally, and socially. So many people, when they can't stick to the perfect diet plan or control every single calorie that they put in their mouth when they're eating on the go or eating out, they think, fuck it. The reason people say fuck it is, having coached so many people and helped so many people overcome this barrier, it's very easy to have an expectation of progressing perfectly every single week. It's very easy to say, I have an expectation of being in phenomenal shape, being lean, being fit, being confident, being energized. It's easy to speak about the outcomes you want. But it's even easier to be deluded with what you're willing to do and the food you're willing to eat to meet that expectation. And a lot of people, from my experience through our coaching, because of being deluded with their expectations about where they believe they should be, physically especially, in relation to what they're willing to do, they can get to an end of a week where they might have eaten pretty well, they might get all their sessions in, might get their movement in, but they're still not seeing the exact progress they had in their mind, visually or perhaps on the weighing scales. So to overcome this, you have to be more realistic with your expectations in relation to the outcomes that you expect on how you look, the weight you want. You need to make sure that if you have an expectation of a certain body weight, of a certain look, is the way you're managing your week, and in particular your food, aligned to that expectation? For example, this podcast is going out across the summer, and for many people, summer is the hardest season of all to navigate food management. Why? People are on holiday. They naturally want to enjoy the fruits of their labor more. They want to socialize more. There's more weddings. There's more barbecues. There's just lots of scenarios where there's more temptation, there's more fun, there's more alcohol perhaps, and you want to let loose, especially after working so hard to pay for your holidays and have a good time around all the hard work at this point of the year. So as we say to our clients, adapt your expectations on a week-to-week basis with what is realistic. So for example, if you've got a long weekend and it's going to be very, very, very social, you're eating out multiple times, you are maybe at a wedding, basically there's more food and drinks available. You're being absolutely deluded if you think that you're going to optimize progress without having to give up something in some way. Now, look, as we teach our clients, you can navigate through social occasions week to week, every week, and still progress, but it will be a little bit slower. And there'll be a lot of coaches who will tell you otherwise. You can't eat what you want, drink what you want, and expect, glorious, rapid progress. But you can still move forward and even have some weeks where you calibrate, when you're in the high social season. But I think a failure to manage expectations is one of the number one reasons people are unhappy with their health and fitness journey over an extended period of time. So my challenge to you is, can you be a little bit more realistic with how you're managing your week in relation to the outcomes you are working towards? As we say to our clients inside Built to Last, and this is why full transparency, we don't work with anyone inside Built to Last for less than 12 months. We want to help navigate them across all seasons, slowly but consistently moving forward week to week, every week. So at the end of the year, that person is in the best shape of their life, but they've known how to navigate that around real life, social pressures, business dinners, all these different things, and travel for many. So ask yourself the question, am I being deluded or realistic with my expectations of how I want to look, the body weight I want to have, and is my process, my way of managing my food and my plan and my life aligned to that expectation? Or do you need to lower the bar a little bit? Okay. But if you can get really, really good on a week-to-week basis of setting an expectation, even if it is a little bit lower than what you've previously done, but then meeting that expectation, you're going to create momentum. And when you create momentum, you build confidence, you build enthusiasm in the process. And when you build enthusiasm and enjoyment in the process, you're more likely to stick to it and keep doing it and keep yourself healthy across a calendar year, if that's important to you. The second thing you simply cannot ignore is emotional control. For me, being aware of your emotional triggers, your emotional patterns are significantly more important than trying to work out what the best diet plan is for you. You'll never stick to that diet plan or way of managing your food if you don't have emotional control. Why can I say that with so much certainty? Because if it was that simple about having the perfect diet plan, the perfect protein and calorie target, why is it millions and millions of people do not adhere to that? And from my experience, a lot of the time it's reactive emotional patterns when people are stressed, tired, bored, or maybe even rewarding themselves after a fantastic day at work, a great business deal's gone through, maybe they're feeling good in life, but your emotions are going to dictate your decisions. So it's okay having the best diet plan in the world, the best data in the world, but if you can't control your emotions, you're never going to implement the choices that are aligned to the expectations that you're working towards and the body and the health that you want. So you have to become more aware of your emotional patterns. So, for example, you may have certain times of the week and certain days of the week where you have built up habitual behavior patterns that influence your choices for the negative, or that basically contradict the health and the body that you're working towards. So if you have a certain time and day of the week where you know you have more cravings, you have less willpower, and you've got evidence that they have been a part of your life for months, if not years, then how can we forward plan ahead of that emotional trigger kicking in, so we've got a better food option in place that doesn't contradict our health goals? Stress, I believe, in the modern day entrepreneur and business owner, is the number one thing that influences someone's eating and drinking habits for the worse. It's a sign you've lost control when you overeat, drink, and feel guilty afterwards. You wouldn't have that feeling of guilt if you had control on that decision. And if you've listened to any of my previous podcasts or any of my content on social media, you know I eat out regularly, I drink regularly, as do our clients. But there's a big difference of eating a burger and chips, having some drinks if that's your thing, from a place of control where you've had structure in place. You've actively chosen to do that for pleasure without guilt, as opposed to you're stressed, you've had a long day at work, and you're just eating whatever's in sight, over drinking to numb the pain of stress, make yourself feel good temporarily. So become more aware of your emotional consistency and control. Because as I've said on previous podcasts, it is absolutely impossible to become physically consistent if you don't have emotional consistency. So if you have an existing emotional pattern at a certain time and day, and it's driving you crazy as to why this keeps happening, try and get deep to the core of why you feel this way and why you have the urge to overeat, drink, or both. What's the real cause? And then ask yourself the question, is this negative emotion, or the things that's contributing towards this negative emotion, is it true? Can I change the meaning of it? What can I do to change my state so I don't feel this way? And what can I do instead of overeat or drink or both that isn't going to leave me feeling like shit afterwards? Like, for example, one of the things I said to one of my private clients the other day was, I said, when you feel hungry or the urge to snack, walk for 5 minutes, drink a glass of water, and then evaluate if you are actually hungry or it was simply an emotional trigger or an emotional pattern that you've just built up over months and years, and it's simply become a habit that you can't shake off. Because I think so many people say they're hungry, they're craving a snack, when they're just bored, they're stressed, they're seeking comfort, they might be anxious. And as I said to him, and this might seem a little bit boring, but ultimately he's paying me to help him lose weight. I said to him, if you were that hungry, eat an apple. And then if you're still hungry after eating an apple, eat another one. But just try and get more aware of your emotions that might be negatively harming the diet you're either sticking to or not right now, or the way you keep saying you're going to eat, as opposed to how you're actually eating. The third and final one is something that I've covered over and over again on podcasts, but I want to continually drill this point home because I think it's that important to someone's long-term health and identity someone wants to have when it comes to their physique, and that is environment. I've said this so many times on previous podcasts, but honestly, if you're a consistent listener to this podcast or you're new to this podcast, I cannot stress enough about the importance of your environment in relation to your food decisions. you can have the most strong-willed mentality in the world, but if you put yourselves in tempting environments with hyperpalatable foods, added sugar foods, alcohol, if you like a drink, if you are consistently in environments where the food/drink options contradict the health and the body and the energy you want to live with, eventually you will surrender to willpower and that environment, and you will make more choices that don't support the body and the health you want, as opposed to making choices that are aligned to that health and body you want. Also, as I've said before on previous podcasts, when we talk about environment, it's not just about the places you spend time in or the choices that you have in these environments. It's the people that you spend time with in certain environments. There's so many quotes out there, but one of my favorite ones is from James Clear. Your environment is the invisible hand that shapes your behavior. So if you know right now that your current behavior in relation to your food choices is holding you back from the body you want, the energy you wish to live with, and the confidence you want to walk around with, then ruthlessly evaluate who you spend time with. Are they helping or hindering the body shape, the health, and the energy you want? If you are around unhealthy people who eat shit, drink regularly and excessively, you are significantly more likely to follow suit. I've got enough evidence from all my years of coaching to know that the clients who are more consistent are more aware of the people they spend time with and the people they communicate with, maybe even the things they watch, because all of these things shape our decision making or shape our state, which influences our decision making. So if you want to get a grip on your food and eat better, whichever way you manage your food, and I've spoke about this before, there's 4 ways, in my opinion, that you can manage your food: diet plan, tracking calories, habits and guideline, or outsourcing your food. Irrelevant of which one you use, or maybe like many of our clients, they use all of these at some point across the year, depending on where they are. It's your environment that's still going to shape how consistent you become or not. So just to summarize, if you want to eat better, I strongly urge you do not ignore these 3 things. Get clear on your expectations of what is your main outcome at the end of each week, and is the way your living environment aligned to those expectations? Are you being realistic or deluded? In relation to the food choices that you have available, are those food choices that you have available, especially if you're traveling, you've got socials, aligned to your expectation? If the answer is no, lower your expectations temporarily. Because when you meet that expectation, you'll create momentum, and then you keep repeating that process week to week. Secondly, your emotional control. Focus just as much on your emotional awareness, emotional consistency, and emotional control as you are on trying to work out the exact calories you're trying to eat, how much protein you're trying to eat, when you should be eating, because all of this will be totally irrelevant if you don't have emotional control that is going to contribute towards you actually implementing the things you know you should be eating. Then lastly, your environment. Ask yourself the question on a week-to-week basis or even a daily basis, is today's environment going to help or hinder the health, the shape, the weight that I want to walk around with, or whatever's important to you right now in terms of your health and fitness goals and how you want to feel? As always, please feel free to drop me any questions on social media. If you have any questions on this episode, I'm going to have lots of resources on the things I've covered today. I know I'll get a lot of messages when I say reach out to me to get some of these resources. I get so many messages, so I apologize if I've ever missed any. If you're listening to this episode and you've requested a resource and I haven't got back to you, please nudge me again on that, and I promise to more than make up for it with plenty of resources as well. So thank you so much for listening. Please continue to spread the word about this podcast. We've got some fantastic guests coming up. We've had some fantastic guests, of course, previously, and I'll see you next time.